Beneath every fortress, my darlings, lies something buried, a secret, a sin, or a seed that should never have grown. The snow may have softened Hawksmere's scars, but the land itself remembers. Each gust of wind whispers the names of the damned, and the stones still bleed with old deceit. Lady Alianor believes the danger above has passed, yet beneath her very feet the rot awakens. A trembling nun speaks of a cellar where wealth and wickedness once slept side by side, of silver that gleams among withered fruit, and a sweetness in the air that is not of heaven. They called it harvest, but no harvest should taste of ash. Tonight we descend with them, through the East Tower's ancient veins, into a vault where the light itself recoils. For in this chapter, the truth does not rise to the surface, it is exhumed.
Chapter 24, The Harvest of Ash. The brittle calm following Brother Oswin's departure felt like the deceptive stillness before an avalanche. Furnace grain filled bellies, easing the sharpest pangs of hunger, but the nourishment did little to warm the chill of suspicion or mend the fractures within Hawksmere's walls. Alianor moved through the days with a vigilance honed to a razor's edge. Tom doubled the watches, not just on the walls, but on the granary itself, its new abundance a magnet for desperation and resentment alike. The sheriff's deputy was somewhere on the treacherous south track. Marjorie's damning scroll clutched close, a fragile lifeline tossed across a chasm of snow and political machinations. In the solar, Alianor pored over a rough inventory by the meager fire. Eamon sat opposite, meticulously cleaning and sharpening a hunting knife, the rasp of stone on steel, a counterpoint to the wind, sighing through the arrow loops. His color was better, the bruises fading to yellow-green, but the lines of pain around his eyes remained deep. The journey to Thorn's Hollow and its brutal aftermath had taken a lasting toll. "The furnace oats buy us time," Alianor said, tapping the parchment, "but barely, even stretched thin, with the injured and extra mouths. 3 weeks? Less if the cold deepens. The saltfish helps, but it's poor sustenance alone. The wood?" She gestured towards the hearth, where a single log burned low. "Tom's parties bring back barely enough for cooking, and the infirmary. The cold seeps into the stones. People are sleeping huddled together in the hall, wrapped in every rag they own." Eamon tested the knife's edge against his thumb. The hollow woods are still buried. The ravine. He didn't need to finish. Gareth, Jory, Mick. Their absence was a raw wound. We need to look closer. The forest within a mile of the walls. The old coppices near Thieves' Beck. It's riskier. Roland's men might have hunted it bare before the snows, or poachers, but it's reachable small parties, quick in and out. "And if they encounter Sir Jocelyn's scouts?" Alianor countered. "Oswin's warning wasn't idle. He'll be reporting our defiance. Sir Jocelyn won't wait for the sheriff's response. He'll probe, test our defenses, look for weakness. Then we make sure they find none," Eamon replied, his voice flat. "Tom's watchful. The men are loyal. They remember the mine. They remember Roland." He looked up, his gray eyes meeting hers. "We can't freeze waiting for the thaw or the sheriff. Action keeps hope alive. Fear festers in idleness." Alianor knew he was right. The memory of Alara's grief-twisted accusation after Davy's death, fueled by Marjorie's poison, was a stark reminder despair was Roland's and Sir Jocelyn's ally. "Very well. Organize it. Tom leads. Small groups. Axes, saws, sledges. Only what they can carry swiftly. No heroics. Back before dusk. Start tomorrow." A tentative knock interrupted them. Bess entered, her face pale, wringing her hands. "Milady, it's Sister Marjorie. She's refusing to eat again, and she's asking for you. Says it's urgent, about the well." Alianor's blood ran cold. The well. Edmund's rambling warning echoed in her mind. the poisoned one, the one she dug with her whispers. Beware the fruit. What well, Bess? I don't know, milady. She just keeps muttering. The well under the east tower, the poison fruit. She has to know before it's too late. She's feverish, maybe terrified. Alianor exchanged a look with Aemon. Fear or manipulation. Marjorie was a master of both, but Edmund's strange lucidity, it couldn't be coincidence. I'll come. Aemon, with me. Bess, bring warm broth, regardless. The chapel storeroom felt colder than the courtyard. Marjorie sat hunched on her sacking pallet, but her posture was different. Not the defeated slump from which she'd given her deposition, nor the calculating stillness of before. She vibrated with a raw, trembling terror. Her eyes, when she lifted her head, were wide, bloodshot, and darting frantically. She flinched as Alianor and Aemon entered, Tom positioning himself solidly in the doorway. He knows, Marjorie blurted, her voice a hoarse scrape. He knows I talked. He'll kill me. He'll kill you all. Who knows, sister? Alianor asked, keeping her voice calm, stepping closer. Sir Jocelyn? Jocelyn? No, him, the shadow. Marjorie clutched her arms around herself, rocking. The one who digs deep, the one who poisons the roots. The well, Alianor pressed. Under the east tower? What well? What poison? Marjorie's gaze snapped to Alianor's face, a flicker of desperate cunning beneath the terror. I'll tell you everything, but you have to get me out, away from here. Furnace won't protect me. He has eyes everywhere. In the Abbey. Give me a horse, provisions. Let me go north, to Scotland. Anywhere. Promise me. Her voice rose to a shriek. Tell me about the well first, Alianor said firmly, unmoved by the hysterics. The truth. Then we discuss your safety. Marjorie whimpered, her gaze darting to the dark corners of the room, as if expecting a specter to emerge. It's not a water well, she whispered, her voice dropping so low they had to lean in. It's a place, a root cellar, ancient, older than the keep, beneath the foundations of the East Tower. Roland found it years ago, exploring the cellars, a hidden door, blocked by rubble. He cleared it. She shuddered. He used it for meetings, for things he didn't want seen, sometimes with men from Chesterfield, men with hard faces and no names, gambling debts, he said, but later. She swallowed convulsively. After Lady Alianor died, after Godfrey grew sick, I saw him go down there, not with men, alone, carrying a small chest, heavy. He looked pleased, vile. A chest? Aemon prompted. What was in it? I don't know, Marjorie cried. I never went down. It frightened me. The air. It smells wrong down there, cold and dead, like old earth and something. Sweet, rotten sweet. She gagged slightly. But that's not the poison. The poison is the fruit. What grows from it? Alianor felt a prickle of dread. What grows from it, Marjorie? The money, Marjorie hissed. The money he used to pay his debts, to buy silence, to grease palms at Furness. It didn't come just from the mine, not all of it. He'd come up from that cellar and suddenly have coin. Silver pennies, sometimes gold nobles, always old, tarnished, like buried treasure. Her eyes widened further. And the lies. The lies grew like weeds from that dark place. The whispers about Lady Alianor's mind, about Godfrey's weakness, about you, Alianor, cold and cunning. They didn't just spring from Roland's mouth. They were nurtured, down there, in the dark. She fixed Alianor with a stare of pure horror. He called it his harvest, the harvest of ash, from the poisoned roots. A stunned silence filled the cold room. A hidden cellar, stolen ancient coin, the source of Roland's corrupting wealth, the literal root of his lies. It sounded fantastical, the rambling of a terrified mind. Yet, it resonated with Edmund's warning. With the inexplicable ease, Roland had found money, despite the mine's fluctuating yields, with the depth of the rot he'd sown. "Where's the entrance?" Alianor demanded. "The East Tower cellar," Marjorie gasped. "Behind the broken wine racks. There's a pile of old rubble. Look for the stone with the chipped corner like a boar's tusk. Push it. It moves." She suddenly lunged forward, grabbing Alianor's sleeve with surprising strength. "But don't go down. Please. The air, it's bad." He said things lived down there in the dark once. Old things, forgotten. He laughed when he said it, but his eyes weren't laughing. "Promise me you won't go down. Just seal it. Seal it forever. Burn the whole tower down." Alianor pried Marjorie's fingers loose. The nun collapsed back, sobbing in ragged gasps. "Get her some water, Bess," Alianor ordered, her mind racing. She looked at Eamon, his expression mirroring her own turmoil, disbelief warring with a chilling sense of possibility. Tom's face was grimly fascinated. "A root cellar?" Tom muttered. "East Tower foundations are solid limestone. Runs deep. Could be. Poisoned air? Old things?" Eamon's voice was skeptical, but his eyes were shadowed. "Superstition? Or something Roland used to keep the curious away? Or something worse," Alianor said softly, remembering Edmund's lucid dread. "Beware the fruit." Whether it was literal poison, cursed treasure, or simply the metaphorical fruit of Roland's evil, the place Marjorie described felt like the festering heart of the corruption that had nearly destroyed Hawksmere. "We need to find this entrance, see if it exists, but carefully. Tom, fetch lanterns, good rope, and vinegar-soaked cloths, in case the air's foul." They left Marjorie in Bess's care, her pleas for escape echoing behind them. The East Tower was the oldest part of Hawksmere, its cellar a labyrinthine space used for storing root vegetables, salted meat, and discarded junk. It was cold, damp, and smelled of earth and decay. Broken furniture, discarded tools, and empty rotting barrels littered the area near the crumbling outer wall where Marjorie had indicated. They searched behind the sagging remnants of wine racks. It was Eamon who found it, his miner's eye catching the unnatural line in the piled rubble. A large flat stone, its top corner broken off precisely, leaving a shape eerily reminiscent of a boar's tusk, the de Mowbray sigil. He pushed, with a grating groan of stone on stone, the entire section, cleverly counterweighted, swung inward, revealing a yawning blackness and a rush of air so cold it made them gasp. The smell was unmistakable. Damp earth, ancient stone, and beneath it, a faint, cloying sweetness that made the back of Alianor's throat tickle unpleasantly, rotten sweet. Tom raised his lantern. The light plunged down a steep, narrow staircase carved directly into the bedrock, disappearing into darkness after a dozen steps. The air that flowed up was stagnant and carried the same, faintly, nauseating odor. "Well?" Tom asked, his voice echoing slightly in the sudden opening. "Not a well," Eamon murmured, peering down. "A passage, deep." Alianor tied the vinegar-soaked cloth over her nose and mouth. The sharp tang helped mask the sweetness. "We go down. Slowly. Tom, lead with the light, Eamon. Behind me. Rope tethers." She looped a length of rope around her waist, handing the end to Tom. Eamon did the same. The descent was treacherous, the steps worn smooth and slick with condensed moisture. The temperature dropped sharply as they went deeper, the cold biting through their layers. The staircase ended in a small, rough-hewn chamber. Tom's lantern light pushed back the darkness, revealing walls of naked bedrock. The room was empty, save for thick dust and scattered rodent droppings, but directly opposite the stairs, a low arch opening led into deeper blackness. The sweet, rotten smell was stronger here. They moved towards the arch. Tom held the lantern high, illuminating a narrow tunnel stretching into the hill. The walls were roughly carved, uneven. The floor was packed earth. And about 20 feet in, the tunnel ended abruptly at a heavy, iron-bound oak door. It looked ancient, studded with rusted iron bolts. A large, tarnished iron ring served as a handle. "That's not a root cellar," Tom breathed, his usual stoicism replaced by awe. Alianor approached the door, her heart pounding. This was no storage space. This was a vault, a secret buried deep beneath Hawksmere, the source of Roland's harvest of ash. She reached out, her gloved hand touching the cold, damp wood. What lay behind it? Forgotten de Clairvaux treasure? Ill-gotten gains from generations past? Or something darker, as Marjorie and Edmund feared? She grasped the iron ring. It was icy cold. She pulled. The door resisted, swollen with damp, its hinges screaming in protest after decades, perhaps centuries, of disuse. With a final, grating shriek, it yielded, swinging inward. Tom thrust the lantern forward. The light spilled into the space beyond, illuminating not stacks of coin or chests of gold, but row upon row of shelves, crude wooden shelves, sagging under the weight of hundreds of small, dark, shriveled objects. The source of the cloying sweetness hit them like a physical blow, intense, overripe, mingling with the smell of damp and decay. Eamon recoiled, coughing. "God's teeth! What is that stench?" Tom lowered the lantern slightly, his face grim. "Fruit, Master Eamon, or what's left of it." He illuminated the nearest shelf. Lying in desiccated heaps, blackened and withered, were unmistakable shapes: apples, pears, plums. But they were ancient, mummified by the cold, dry air. Amongst them, nestled in the shriveled remains, gleamed dully coins, silver pennies, a few gold nobles, scattered across the shelves and the dirt floor, like malignant seeds, sown amidst the decay. Alianor stepped inside, her boots crunching on the brittle, long-dead fruit. The air was thick, suffocatingly sweet and rotten. She picked up a blackened apple. It crumbled to dust in her hand, releasing a puff of spores that glittered in the lantern light. Beside where it lay, half buried in the ashy remains, was a silver penny, green with verdigris. She picked it up. The face was unfamiliar, the style archaic, very old. "Not treasure," Eamon said, his voice muffled by his cloth, his eyes scanning the horrific bounty. A tomb for fruit, and stolen coins. "The harvest," Alianor whispered, Marjorie's words echoing in the fetid air. "The harvest of ash." Roland hadn't just stored ill-gotten gains here, he'd hidden them amongst literal decay, a physical manifestation of the corruption he'd spread. The poisoned fruit, the money tainted by its resting place amongst rot. Was this where he'd brought Lady Alianor's supposed jewels? Or simply a cache for bribes and gambling debts, hidden in a place so foul no one would think to look? Her foot kicked something metallic. She looked down. Partially buried in the dirt, and Fruit Mummies was a small, ornate box, its wood warped, its iron fittings rusted. She knelt, brushing away the debris. It wasn't locked. With trembling hands, she lifted the lid. Inside, nestled on crumbling velvet, lay not jewels, but papers, folded parchments, brittle with age, and a small, stoppered glass vial, empty, coated in a fine, crystalline white powder. Alianor carefully lifted the top parchment. The script was elegant, feminine, achingly familiar. Eleanor de Clairvaux. Beneath it, a date and a single chilling line. Received from Brother Anselm, the powder of quietus, for Edmund's night terrors, he claims. But his eyes, they hold the shadow. God forgive me, I fear its true purpose. Alianor's breath caught. Brother Anselm, Marjorie's confessor at Furness, the man Roland had blackmailed her with, the powder of quietus, a known poison, and Edmund's name. This wasn't just about Godfrey. Roland's reach, his malice, extended further back, further down. He hadn't just poisoned Godfrey. He'd planned to poison Edmund. Had Eleanor intercepted it, hidden it here, died before she could expose it? The pieces crashed together with horrifying clarity. The poisoned well wasn't metaphorical. It was this place, this ancient cellar, where Roland buried his corruption, and nurtured his lies. The fruit was literal, rotting in the dark. And the true poison fruit was the knowledge festering here, the evidence of his deepest crimes, reaching back years, implicating Furness Abbey itself. Alianor carefully closed the box, clutching it tightly. This was more than leverage. This was a weapon that could incinerate Sir Roland de Mowbray and scorch the foundations of Furness Abbey. But it was also a terrifying burden. The roots of the poison went deeper and darker than she'd ever imagined. Edmund's warning had been horrifically precise. They had found the source. Now they had to survive the consequences of unearthing it. The harvest of ash was real, and its bitter taste filled her mouth as she stared into the lantern-lit nightmare of Roland's hidden heart.
And so the door opened, my loves, not to treasure, but to testimony. In that buried vault, surrounded by the ruins of fruit and coin, Lady Alianor uncovered the true harvest of sin, greed fermented into legacy, lies preserved like relics in the dark, the powder, the letters, the proof. All the ghosts of Hawksmere pressed into parchment and ash, waiting for someone brave or foolish enough to breathe their names again. Now the roots of corruption lie bare, and the air itself tastes of judgment. But remember this, my dear listeners, when truth is dug from poisoned ground, it does not come up clean, it comes up screaming. Until the next toll of the scandalous hours, tread lightly where the earth smells sweet, for sweetness in such places is only rot remembering how to sing.